Hi guys, welcome to another Yarn Scrap Friday tutorial with me, Laura, and in this week's video I'm going to be showing you how to make this cute little daisy. Okay, so in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you not just how to make the daisy but also the stem as well if you want to make these into these cute little bouquet of daisies, but I'm using actually a crochet thread, so this is probably a yarn weight of around 2, something like that, but you can use any yarn that you like really, just in white and yellow. With that I'm using a 2mm crochet hook, and you're also going to need a yarn needle and a pair of scissors as well. And if you want to make the stems as well, these, we're going to need some wire cutters. Going to need some florist wire. This is about sort of 0.3mm, I think, so just some thin florist wire. You might be able to use a variation of that, a different weight. And with that, some florist tape as well. This is this special tape that florists use, and you can sort of stretch it a little bit and it's a bit sticky. So, and you can pick these up on Amazon, which I did. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so we're going to start off with the yellow first, and we're going to do a slip knot. And you can either work into a magic circle or chain 4 loop, and we're going to do 8 single crochet into, I'm going to do a chain 4 loop, so you can easily use a magic circle if you prefer. So chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to put our hook into our first chain, bring the yarn through, and straight through the loop on your hook to make a little loop of chains, and into there we're going to work 8 single crochet. Like I said, this pattern's in US terminology, so in UK terminology that's going to be 8 double crochet. We're going to do a little chain 1 to begin, don't count that as a stitch, then carefully putting it into the center of your 4 chain loop, bring the yarn through, wrapping it around the chains, work a single crochet. We want 8 of those, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 more, 7, and 1 more, 8. Okay, so we've got 8 single crochet. I might be able to just bring that center in a little bit by pulling the tail end, and then we're just going to slip stitch into our first single crochet, put our hook into there to join the round. Okay, do a little bit neater than me. Let's try that again. There we go, to join the round. So you should have 8 single crochet by the end of that round. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a chain 1. Again, don't count that as a stitch. And we're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So starting in the same stitch as your previous slip stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet. And we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So we're keeping a stitch count of 8. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And it always looks like there's another stitch left, which is what I call the fake. So that's just your previous slip stitch. So we want to skip that and just slip stitch into our first single crochet. And if it's a little bit far over, just bring up a little loop so you can get your hook in there, bring the yarn through. And before you do your slip stitch, just pull the yarn and then bring it through. Okay, and we just want it to pop out in this direction, and that is the end of the yellow part. So we're going to cut our yarn but leave a little bit of tail for sewing. So we're actually going to work these as separate pieces because we want to make them into almost realistic daisies. So just pull that through. And then we're going to work on the white part. Okay, so for the petals, I'm going to take the white yarn, and again we're going to start off with a chain 4 loops. So let's do our slip knot and chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Put our hook into our first chain, bring the yarn through, straight through the loop on your hook, and you've got a little 4 chain loop. And we're going to do a little chain 1, so don't count that as a stitch. And into the center of our 4 chain loop or magic circle if you prefer, we're going to work 10 single crochet this time, so 10. Be careful not to go into that first chain, which can look quite big. Go into the center and wrapping it around, we're going to work 10 single crochet this time. So 1, you might have to squeeze them in a little bit. 2, 3, 8, and you might just have to push them out a little bit so you can squeeze in the last 2, 9 and 10. So make sure they don't overlap. And then we're going to slip stitch into our first single crochet. Make sure it's the first one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And slip stitch into there to join the round. Okay, so you should have 10 single crochet. Now we're going to make the petals. And to do the petals, we're just going to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we're going to yarn over, and we're going to do a 1 double crochet in the 4th chain from our hooks. So in UK terms, that's going to be a treble. So we don't count the loop on our hook. That's our first chain, second, third, 4th. In the 4th, put our hook and work a double crochet. Pull through 2, pull through 2. Then in the next chain, we're going to work a half double crochet or half treble in UK terms. So put our hook into there, do a half double. And then in the last chain, we're just going to do a single crochet or double crochet in UK terms. And then what we want to do is find the next stitch on the main circle, and we're going to slip stitch into there. Put our hook into there and do a slip stitch, and that's our first petal complete. And we're just going to repeat that 9 more times until we have 10 petals. So again, show you one more time, chain 6, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, yarn over. Then in your 4th chain, so 1, 2, 3, 4, we do a double crochet, pull through 2, completely lost that, so let's try that again. In the 4th chain, so do a double crochet, so pull through 2, pull through 2. Then in the next chain we do a half double crochet in US terms. So a half double crochet or half treble in UK terms. And then in the last stitch, the last chain, we're going to do a single crochet or a double crochet in UK terms. Getting completely confused between UK and US. And then on the next stitch on the main circle, we do a slip stitch. So just slip stitch into there and chain 6 for your next petal. So I'm going to repeat this all the way around until I have 10 petals, and then I shall come back and show you what to do next. Okay, so in the 4th chain, it's a double crochet or a treble in UK terms. The next chain is a half double crochet or half treble in UK terms, and then a single crochet or a double crochet in UK terms. And then we slip stitch in the next stitch on the main circle. Okay. Okay, so just finishing up the last petal, petal number 10, half double crochet and the last chain, single crochet, and then we don't have any more stitches to slip stitch into, so we're just going to go back into that first one and slip stitch into there just to join. Okay, so hopefully you got something that looks like this, and we're going to cut our yarn. You don't have to keep a long tail for sewing. Pull the yarn through, and we're going to get our yarn needle And we're going to thread this tail end to the back and to the center of our flower. So to the back, turn it over, and we want all these tail ends to be like this one right in the middle for when we create the stem. So just neatly as you can, bring that to the middle. Okay, we're not going to cut it because we're going to use these to help us create the stem. But we want to bring back our yellow part, and the center piece here, we just want to cut down a little bit. It's a bit too long. Yours might be shorter. And we're going to use this as stuffing. So we're just going to put that inside. And then taking the yarn needle again, we're going to sew this yellow part to the white part. The first thing we want to do is just go back into that same stitch we slip stitched into, and then sew that in. And then placing it on top of your white petals, we are going to, as neatly as you can, sew this together. So we're going to go down through the white, then come up through a stitch, then over the next stitch and back down through the white. And just repeat that all the way around. Okay. Okay, so when you've finished sewing that on, we're going to turn this over and make sure the yellow part is in the middle as well. So I'm just going to sew that to the center. Okay, and then what we're going to do is add our stem. So you can leave that here if you want to. You can stop here and just have some beautiful little daisies, and there's another little daisy here, and you can experiment with different hook sizes. I used a slightly bigger hook size for these petals, and you can see the difference. But if you want to add a stem, then continue watching, and what we're going to do is we're going to get some of our florist wire. So this is quite thin. I think it's 0.3 millimeter, I'm not sure, but as long as it's not too thick, and we want the stem to be about this long, and then we're going to double that up to about here. Get some wire cutters, just cut that down. Of course, when I do it off camera, it goes perfectly. And what I'm actually going to use is my yarn needle to help sew this on. It actually works quite well because the wire is so thin. I'm just going to bend it round my yarn needle, turn this over, keeping the tail ends out the way a little. We're just going to sew from one side to the other on the back, if you can see there, and bring the wire through. Take off our yarn needle and unwind that, and then folding this together, we're going to pinch that, and then we're going to twist to secure a little bit. Twist these together. And this is, you might think this wire is quite thin, but it actually works quite well for a dainty daisy. And we're just going to move our flower up a little bit like that, and we're going to bleed all these tail ends together, but you don't want this tail end to be longer than the wire, so we're going to trim down any excess yarn and remove that. But then what we want to do is to grab our florist tape. Now, florist tape is basically what florists use for bouquets of flowers, and you can stretch it and tear it quite easily. When you stretch it, it goes a bit sticky, and it works really well for flowers. Now, I'm not an expert using florist wire, so do bear with me. But what we're going to try and do is get this as close to the top as possible. Then just wrapping this around, it should stick to itself as you activate the glue. And going slightly diagonal, we're going to just twist and move this all the way down the stem, encasing the wire and the tail ends of the yarn. You can see coming together. So you just do that all the way to the bottom. Okay, and when we get to the bottom, we're just going to bend over the wire a little bit. I'm going to rip our florist tape, and afraid your hands do get, they always say you're not supposed to get sticky hands, but I always get sticky hands using this. And we're going to carry on past the end of the wire here until we can fold it over, fold it up, and then go back in the opposite direction. And this should create a nice soft edge to the bottom so you haven't got all the wires sticking out. And there we go. There is our finished stem, and then we can pull out our flower a little bit, push that up. I'm sure you can do a much neater job than me. But there we go, there is our finished daisy, and it can go with our other daisies and our little bouquet of daisies. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope you managed to follow along and create some cute little daisies. And maybe in a future video, I will show you how to add wire and create a stem to make more realistic flowers. But until then, I will see you soon for some more crochet crafting fun. And I just want to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for helping make the return of Yarn Scrap Friday happen. So do check out my Patreon channel for extra exclusive content. But until then, I will see you soon for some more crochet crafting fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.